with Dietz Construction. And I'm excited to explain and give you the details about first quarter building permit report. You would think that we would have seen a decline. We haven't had a cold winter like this in a long time. But our building industry is resilient, tough, there's a demand there, and they're up to meet that demand. Housing starts actually had a slight increase over first quarter last year, if you can believe that. The valuations rose about 5%. We're seeing a little different price range and a slight increase in the value of the homes. So we went from 12.8 million to 13.5 million in total housing valuations. Overall, the number of housing starts was 56, which is very compatible with the 5-year average. Our report does do a 5-year average and a 20-year average. So we like to look at those numbers as well to kind of even out over a longer period of time. The single-family construction was actually a little bit lower than last year. However, we did see an increase in twin home and row housing, filling that demand that buyers are expressing. The term housing starts does always include single-family, twin home, and row houses. So even though we say single-family overall has increased, there is a shift this year in how that breaks down the single-family versus the twin homes. The permit report categories include housing starts. That also includes multifamily, new commercial, residential remodeling, commercial remodeling, public and miscellaneous permits. Total values were up 11%. And, permit numbers were up 11%, and the total valuation was up 67%. So we're seeing lots of activity across all the sectors. Very exciting to see those new commercial buildings going up. That's a great sign for our local economy. Our members are looking forward to a busy work season. Things are drying up, warming up. We're just ready to get going. Although we had a late winter, it seems to kind of drag on this year. We're very fortunate that we're not dealing with any flooding issues, because that definitely does sidetrack our building efforts, and we move into floodplain mode, but we didn't have to deal with that this year. We're looking forward to seeing what the rest of the year brings. A few of the comments for the individual cities. Fargo's total housing starts was up 23%. Dilworth, which is typical, did not have any building permits pulled for first quarter, but that's typical for Dilworth. Moorhead last year saw 1, this year they saw 7, so that's a nice notable increase on the Moorhead side. And West Fargo single-family starts were actually down, but they were an area where twin home construction jumped from 0 to 6, so that's notable as well. So despite the record activity, our metro area still faces flood insurance mandates. We get updates with that all the time, and wait for permanent flood protection to pull us out of the need for that flood insurance. The Homeowners Flood Insurance Affordability Act of 2014 was passed in March. I'm sure most people have been keeping a tab on that. It affects so many homes in our valley. So hopefully people are keeping track of that, but it does ensure that grandfathered rates, and it does remove the part of the act that when a house is sold, it automatically triggers those increased rates. So that has been changed as well, so we're very glad to see that. We also have a thank you to put out to Senators Holman and Heitkamp that worked with getting the Corps of Engineers. We have received additional funding through appropriations to bring total funding for the planning, engineering, and design phase of the diversion to $40 million. So that's also a big step in the right direction for permanent flood protection for our area. There's great reasons to build. People are still very interested in building. Interest rates are still low. Home values are steady, and in some pockets increasing. Buying a home is still a great investment in most people's minds and considered the American dream. Local banks are still happy to lend money, and there are housing incentives. Fargo, West Fargo do have incentives, and Moorhead and Dilworth also have the tax rebate for 2 years on newly constructed homes. There's also incentives for down payments, closing costs, and financing assistance. So at this time, if you have any other questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Can you speak on how Fargo Moorhead is the area is doing in regards, like in comparison to the rest of the state?
I haven't seen the other local HBA's building reports for first quarter, so I can't answer that. We did have a meeting in March, and it sounded like things were strong in all those areas, but I haven't seen their reports compiled.
Are you guys seeing much spillover from the Bakken region?
We do get asked that from time to time, and I would say yes. I personally haven't had anybody building because of Bakken, but I have had people buying in our area, leaving Williston, coming this direction. I've seen people coming from other parts of the country into this area just because they know that the economy is strong. They're not necessarily interested in what's going on in the Bakken, but they know that overall North Dakota is very healthy. So that's my personal experiences anyway. So.
I heard you mention the word record. Are any of these statistics a record this first quarter?
I believe that the total valuations, when we put all of the building activity together, the commercial, the multifamily is going very strong. You would think that at some point we'd stop building rentals, but there's a strong demand there for rental properties, so that's really helping too. But commercial is great.
So the overall building permit numbers are a record for the first quarter?
Let me double
Was it a
check.
record increase?
I think the increase is a record, but let's see. Total, we're at 93 million, and looking back the last 5 years, it's been 40, 50,
So
80.
the total valuation?
Yeah, it does appear so. Any other questions for me? Well, if not, like I said, I'll be available for interviews afterwards if you think of anything else. Thank you for coming. And don't forget about the parade, starting tomorrow. Thank you.